All right. Welcome, everybody. This is season 2 of Everything Bird Dogs in a Life Outdoors. I'm Ben Garcia. For those of you who don't know or brand new and just listen to this, I own a kennel called Hideaway Kennels. It's located in Calhan, Colorado. We operate at Rocky Mountain Roosters, and we have had a great summer of rain at Roosters, which we'll get into a little bit more. Absolutely just such a blessing for the moisture we've had. A little bit hot now, a little bit warm that we're dealing with, but the rain earlier this summer was great. So we're going to go ahead and just talk really quick about some changes we have for the podcast this season. This is obviously season 2. Last season was a great success. Thank you, everybody that listened to it. We do put a lot of work into these. They're not just me sitting down and blabbing for a while just to try to get you to listen. So we hope this is information that helps you with your animals, with your dogs, and helps you be a better owner and a better dog handler. So some things that are new, we are always on Instagram and Facebook for Hideaway Kennels. We have a new Instagram and Facebook that's developing now, so hopefully by the time this airs, it's together, which will get you information on this podcast. So if you wanted information directly with this, or it'll both be on the Everything Bird Dogs and the Hideaway Kennels social accounts. Another thing we did this year is we added a Patreon subscription. So we're going to split. It's going to be a longer podcast season for us, a lot more work for us, but we're going to add some bonuses in for people. So we have 7 episodes that will be our normal podcast for folks, and you can listen to them. You just download them on wherever you find your podcasts. And then for the people that subscribe to Patreon, which will be a way reasonable fee to subscribe, you get some bonus stuff. You get 6 additional podcasts and then 4 videos that will definitely help you getting ready for hunting season. So that's kind of some new stuff for us with the podcast. Again, last season was so successful. I can't believe it took off the way it did. I can't believe the amount of listeners we had to it and downloads. It's probably bigger than I thought it was going to be, and I probably, like most things in my life, bit off more than I can chew and had to learn along the way, but I was glad I did it. We got a lot of good feedback. Perhaps my favorite was from one of my clients, and she's wonderful and honest. She said, I don't listen to the podcast to get ready to go work out because it's not that motivating, but it relaxes me at night when I want to listen to something calm. So that's a little bit, it's a great compliment. So I'm a very wound up person, but I don't want to be so wound up that you can't understand what I'm saying and be so wound up you can't track what I'm trying to communicate. So I took that very well, and she gave me a lot of good feedback on it. And if you have feedback on it, always feel free to email me if there's something you like, you don't like, and I will always listen to it. So I'm going to take a break for a minute. It's early in the morning up here in the mountains. We have been up pulling cameras because hunting season's around the corner. We've been tracking where the elk are, what they're doing, and it's been an interesting summer with elk. So they started talking really soon, and they started moving together really soon. So they're bunched up, which is going to make archery pretty fun, and the bulls are bachelored up, which is going to make it pretty fun. So we have been working out, we have been hiking, we have been running, a bunch of fun stuff to get ready for season. So I'm going to take a break, get a cup of coffee here, and we'll get rolling into our first episode of season 2. Again, thank you everybody for listening. Let's get going with this. All right, I'm back. I'm refreshed. I got some coffee, went out and got some air. Got ready to do this for those that are new to the podcast. I record a lot of these up in the mountains at our place up in the mountains. It's a quiet place for me. There's not a lot of distractions except for myself being outside, which I easily get distracted. But it's a beautiful place to be. We have a ton of green grass, a lot of good rain this summer, and birds are singing, animals are moving. Got to see some awesome deer last week in velvet moving around, and some young spikes last night in velvet. So always good for the soul to be outside, in my opinion of life. So, but these are recorded up in the mountains, and it's a good place for us to get ready for our fall tune-up season, which we're in right now. So me and my wife start coming up here in May and start running and doing trail runs and getting our bodies ready for these fall tune-ups and these hunts that we do. And I think it's a good way to avoid injury and a good way to make sure your mind's not tired when you're physically working. So that being said, this is where we write a lot of the podcasts. I do a lot of the webpage stuff, a lot of the social media stuff. That we've added some videos. The dogs this year, I edit them a lot. I edit a lot of them up here, and so it's just a fun place to be. So we do some in town. Also, we're at the kennel. We try not to do too much of the kennel because you could always hear dogs barking. If you've been out there, it can be pretty noisy. Excuse me. So, episode 1, what we're going to cover here is we had historic rains, I think, at Roosters this year. I bet we're almost at 20 inches. I don't know. I don't know you can describe or agree on it, but I bet we're at 20 inches of rain that came down between May and June, and the cover just blew up. So this first episode we're going to go over is going to be getting you ready for your hunting season, but with cover. We're going to really cover. We're going to cover exactly. We're going to cover some products to help your dogs out in thick cover, because it seems like a lot of Colorado, a lot of some of the other states have a lot of cover. And so this is going to be some tips to go over, mostly to help your dog, one, get ready for hunting season, preparing, and get your dog's coat together. If you have a slick dog that doesn't have a coat, some of this stuff will help for you, but this is mostly going to be for those setters, those Brittany's, golden retrievers, a lot of the dogs we train. So we'll jump into it here. So first, I am a big believer in grooming dogs. If you knew me when I was field trialing, I was horrible at grooming dogs, but me and the shears did not get along all the time with the dogs, but I got the hair off and got the function done. But that being said, I would never recommend anybody ever try to groom their dog. I would go to a professional. We take our dogs to a groomer, and one of our employees now is a groomer or is groomed, so she helps us do it. But if she's not with us, we definitely need to go to a groomer. I recommend it. There's a lot of things they know about coat. There's a lot of things they know about growing out coat, proper way to shave dogs so you don't get growth that's uneven and coming out. And I just think it's worth the money and a good service to your dog to get that done. There's a lot of features groomers do that give you feedback. I've had groomers tell me my dog has cancer and I didn't know the dog had cancer, and the vets had missed it. So I have a lot of respect for groomers. I think they're very skilled folks in what they do. So that being said, what I did is I called one of my friends who's been a client before and is a friend and grooms our dogs, and got some tips from her. She owns a grooming salon in the Springs, and she does a great job. So if any of you are ever looking for a groomer and you're in the Springs area or Southern Colorado, let me know. I can definitely give it to you. So I asked her, like in the summer, going into the fall, what's the right, grooming technique to do? And she recommended a number 2 comb. A groomer will know what that does. That gets the hair down low enough that burrs don't stick to it. The dog can be cool, but they're not going to sunburn. If you go lower than that, they're probably going to get sunburn, especially in Colorado with this high heat. So she goes she goes down the dog. I liked, when I was grooming dogs, I'd go against the grain to get them a little shorter, but that was primarily when we were going up to North Dakota for the summer. In early fall, I didn't want to shave them twice. So, but her recommendation is to do it right. So then you get the proper growth of your dog, and you're not getting a sunburn on there. So, I think that number 2 is great. It's a great length. I like it. The other thing I like to do is take off feathering on the back legs, the front legs, and the belly. I'm not a show person. I train show dogs for people, but I don't keep my Brittany's shaved like that. I like, and my setters primarily, I want legs groomed, belly's groomed, back legs groomed, and then I leave the tail obviously on my setters. And if you can find somebody that knows how to trim a setter's tail, keep them, because it can be a complicated thing. Probably one of the best people I ever saw groomed setters for proper tail look when I was competing with Sherry Ray Ebert, and I have someday I need to do a podcast on Sherry. She's amazing. The Smith setters, when we were breeding to them, she was amazing to me when I was getting started. I knocked on her door one day in North Dakota like a complete loser, and she welcomed me in very kindly. And later in life, I got to compete with her down in Texas. And Sherry Ray, but Sherry's, the way she did their tails, her and Harold, her partner in training, Harold Ray, when they were together, I think is the way to do a setter's tail. And if I could find a link of Sherry doing that, I'll try to see if I can find that for folks. But Sherry did a great way of trimming the base of the tail, the front of the tail, and leaving the back to look like a flag on the setters. And I just think if you've ever seen a Gordon setter, Irish setter, English setter with that big old flag tail going, it is beautiful. So that's grooming. I like to keep them short. I generally do it. We've talked about it in podcasts before, in months that begin with A, so April, August. If you are having your dog inside for the winter, I would probably do November, but a longer comb. Talk to your groomer about that. But I just am not a fan of dog hair. Things get caught in it. They get dirty easier. They get mud in there. The bigger one for me is why I like to groom dogs is if you get cut on a fence and you're in the middle of nowhere and have to staple a dog, dog hair is not your friend, as you know. So we'll cover first aid kits here in a little bit, but that is one of why to groom your dog is those fences, man. That barbed wire will rip a dog up. And if you have to get a staple on there or get something in there, it's easier just to have them short and not have to have a portable little shaver with you or scissors to try to cut that hair to get a staple in them or get them wrapped up. So that's the dogs. For dogs, you need to shave, your breeds, typically Brittany setters, are the bigger ones we see shaved. There's other ones you can get shaved also, but those are the ones I would not recommend if you have a wire hair shaving them, a Griffon not shaving them. I've seen golden retrievers be shaved that I'm not a fan of. And believe it or not, I've even seen people try to shave labs, which is a disaster. So those breeds we generally don't recommend grooming. So for them, I'm going to give a secret of what we have. If you've been to the kennel, you've seen it. I love agriculture in every way, and I geek out if I get a chance to go to the stock show. And years ago, I was watching the stock show up in Denver, and I was watching these kids blow out their cows, and they're just busting butt to make these cows look beautiful. And on, they are using these blowers, and they're blowing out the coats. And I, like everything, and I was curious about everybody, so I stopped and talked to them and found the name of the company. And the company they use is this one called Sullivan's Supply. And they have a blowout machine that's called an Air Express, and it's really a dryer. And we bought those for when we're sending dogs home after we bathe them to blow them out to dry their coat. But what I found is if you have a lab, my wife has a German Shepherd. We also have a Malinois. If you use that Sullivan, that Air Express, man, it cuts down your comb time quite a bit, and it gets that undercoat out super fast. And they're a little pricey, but I would say compared to vacuums you're going to go through if you have a long-haired dog, especially a golden retriever or a German Shepherd, it is definitely worth investing in one of those. They work. It takes some time to get the dogs used to them. You kind of got to start off on their feet. They're loud. I would probably say wear ear protection if you're going to use them because they're pretty loud and they're pretty loud for the dogs. But if you hit that dog with that blowout, every couple weeks or that dryer, that coat is just looking really good, and it really saves some time on shedding around the house. If you have a breed you can't shave or groom, if you're trying to get that coat thinned out. So we use it on our labs. It works pretty good. Again, the longer dogs to dry them out. If you're getting somebody that bathes your dog a lot, which you're not supposed to do if you have a bird dog because you don't want to lose those oils. But if you do get one, you can use it both as a blowout and a dryer if you're bathing your dog. So moving on here. So let's talk about stuff you can have in the field with you when you're hunting that I've used and recommended. So I also talked to my friend about these products just to verify I wasn't giving you the wrong information. And Chelsea's great at always being honest with me and telling me if I have the wrong thing. So the first one would be combs. I have been a big proponent of, or a big person that thinks people should have combs with them if they have a long hair dog and they're leaving a little hair on it. If you're out hunting, I've seen one of my clients, he had a great tip for his Brittany's if they got burrs in them. He had an envelope opener, And he would get that on those burrs and just cut them right out and pick them out that way. So if we were hunting down in Oklahoma or Kansas and some gnarly stuff, he'd have those. And that was a good tip. I don't even know if they make them anymore, but just those little plastic envelope openers will cut out a burr really quick. And that razor's not much, so you're going to burn through them if you really get into them. But again, if you shaved your dog, you shouldn't have that many problems with them. But those work well. There's another product I like, a company makes called Sherry Brook, and it's the Crown Royal dog shedding tool that will get in and comb them out pretty good too. When talking to Chelsea, she always recommended, she said, if you have a long hair dog and you put it in your vest, is that metal tooth comb. That really works well for getting those combed out. They're a little bigger, gives you a little room to navigate around if you really got a dog that's burred up. And then obviously a wire slicker for after you get that out. Chelsea gave a good tip, is to make sure you brush